We have the receipts, baby.
Welcome to Trucking with OIDA. Scott Thompson here, joined in Studio A in Grain Valley by our friends from Landline Magazine today, Jami Jones, Mark Schremmer, and Tyson Fisher. Lady and gentlemen, thanks for stopping by. Good to see you.
He said lady.
Lady,
Yeah,
yes.
he said lady.
He called me a gentleman. I'm shocked.
I mean,
That's not what you were saying before we went on air.
I can call you different names. I've got a list here if you want me to go through them. We'll see which ones you like and which ones you don't.
Which ones stick?
Yeah, we'll stick with lady and gentleman for now. We'll hash this out over
We'll see how it deteriorates through the...
That is very true. It's going to be a long hour, and by the end of it, maybe we'll come up with some new names. We're doing well, it seems like.
Oh, yeah.
Been a busy couple weeks. Lots to cover.
It was a busy summer. We just got off of, we do 9 issues a year, and we do 4 in a row during the summer. And it's been named everything from the 4-issue run to the run of hell to things that aren't made for...
to giving you the runs.
Yeah.
Is that a little too...
To some of the other names other than lady and gentleman that will probably be used later.
It's definitely not PG-13 names. By the time you get to the August-September issue, everybody's a little on the fried side. So
all right, so we're getting the fried version.
Oh yeah, the unfiltered fried.
That's just the way we like it. We are going to talk about the August-September issue here in just a little bit, which, as he said, there is hot off the presses. But before we do that, let's delve into a few stories that you're working on right now because, as we said there, it has been a busy few weeks, actually. I want to start, though, with emissions. And Tyson, you've been following this for the past several months. We've seen a lot of movement from the Trump administration on repealing some of these emission regulations that were put in place during the previous administration, even ones beyond that. And that is what we're talking about right here with the 2009 endangerment finding, which is a name that doesn't seem like it should fit with EPA necessarily, but it does. I think we should probably start by explaining what the 2009 endangerment finding is. Sounds like a movie involving aliens, maybe. I don't know. It's not, though. This is about emissions.
No, and I can't overstate how big this is, this endangerment finding and what it means. And so, essentially, it is the legal foundation for most of the emission standards that have been placed since 2010. And where this came from, so we go back to 1999 real quick. Environmental groups petitioned the EPA.
Year of our Lord,
1999.
That's right.
Going way back.
But yeah, so environmental groups, they petitioned the EPA to start regulating greenhouse gases, citing climate change and whatnot. The George Bush administration in 2003 denied that petition, saying they just don't have the authority to regulate greenhouse gases under the Clean Air Act. That was legally challenged, and then in 2007, the Supreme Court issued a landmark decision, basically declaring that the EPA can in fact regulate greenhouse gases as air pollutants under the Clean Air Act. So what the Supreme Court directed the EPA to do is, before you do anything, though, you have to show everybody that that you have, not that you have the authority, but that this is a legitimate issue. So basically, go and find out whether or not greenhouse gases pose a public threat to health and welfare, or determine that the science is unclear yet. Either way, show us what you can find, and then move forward. And then later that year, the EPA came out with what we now know as the endangerment finding, which basically what the EPA found is that greenhouse gases are in fact causing problems for the public health and welfare. So we got to do something about it. That document right there alone basically will be the foundation.
Page one of everything else that came out.
Every emission that came out of this. So that was 2007, and so by 2009 is when it was finalized. It went into effect in 2010. Immediately after it went into effect, you have the Obama administration passed the first wave of vehicle emission rules, which, so if anyone remembers, 2010, we got the truck emission rules, which basically laid the foundation for DEF. It's kind of what everyone might remember that year as.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
it's being rescinded.
So yeah,
the EPA is now rescinding
so
it.
that document, the endangerment finding, is being rescinded. So by doing that, you essentially undo all of the subsequent emission regulations that were, again, that were based on that finding. So if you don't have that finding, you don't have those regulations.
Right. Which means what?
Well, we'll find out.
Okay, a couple of things here. So even though they had to go through this ordeal to come out with this report, the endangerment report, let's not forget that trucking was still going under emission regulations, and we had the 1002 engines that were melting apart because of the consent decree, which was supposed to be 2004. We had the 2007. So, even though it was really weird that it couldn't be regulated, but trucking, no surprise to anybody who's in it, we're guinea pigs, and the emissions were being, because big bad trucks, so I think that's interesting. But when you unring a bell this big, there's a lot more paperwork and a lot more steps to happen. So probably wouldn't quit buying DEF just yet.
Well, that was that's why I asked that, is, what does that mean? Because as you said, you can't really unring the bell, right? All these horses, I'm going to mix a bunch of metaphors or analogies here. All the horses are out of the barn, and the
toothpaste.
The toothpaste is out of the tube. It's not, getting that back in there. But what this does is it sets the groundwork for, I suppose, challenges on a lot of these issues. Is that right?
So there's going to be a lot. The courts are going to be clogged with so many challenges here. So the first challenge will be to this rescission of the endangerment finding. For sure, that's going to play out. The question is, why didn't the Trump administration do this during his first term? So a lot of questions there. But let's say this rule is finalized and the challenges are in the background. Yeah, for each regulation you want to undo, you're going to have to do it piece by piece. You can't just rescind this endangerment finding and then everything collapses. You have to go through each one, and that will go through its own challenges. And so it will be a process. It will be a long process. But essentially, theoretically, this rescinding this finding can undo, the 2010 emission rules and then all the ones that followed there.
But, if you think about it, just because they rescind it, you have a 2010 or newer truck. DEF is dependent. It's programmed to run with DEF. It has a diesel particulate filter. It has all of that. So you're not, even if it is rescinded completely, and we get through that complete process, if you own one of those trucks, you're still going to have to use that tech.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
For sure.
And does anybody really believe that the OEMs are going to go back?
Yeah, and that's exactly where I was going to go, because the question is, so now that let's say DEF is no longer necessary. Yeah, are the OEMs going to go back 15 years of research and development and engineering and go revert back to the past
and invest? Yeah, exactly.
And to reinvest.
Throw that money away too. Yeah,
I don't know.
They would have to re-engineer plants,
right? Stuff like that, and then I'm not an engineer or a mechanic, but I'm pretty sure you can't just disconnect a DEF system. Everything's connected, And so, again, we don't know what it's going to look like. And so, as Jami pointed out, don't get too excited about not having DEF, at least in the short term. We just don't know how it's going to shake out. But,
Yeah, and this may be something, as you kind of point out there, that the free market will eventually figure out. If they figure out it's not worth continuing down this path.
But could it open the door back to glider kits and other, those things that were taken away because of it? That has potential to come back if this all plays out and holds up in court and everything.
And what about those defeating devices? Will those continue to be illegal? So many questions.
So many questions.
The endangerment finding.
You just love saying that.
Sounds like a 1999 movie.
Bad movie.
Involving Will Smith and some meteor from outer space or something, but it is not. But we'll keep an eye on this.
It was aliens and it was Independence Day.
I was trying to mix the movies. We had a meteor movie in 1999 too, I think. With Morgan Freeman as president.
Armageddon?
It was Armageddon.
There was another one.
And the Morgan Freeman as president. I forget what that was called. Yeah.
We'll do some fact checking at the break there.
Somebody get their phone out
very
and Google
important
that
questions.
real quick.
If only there were a way for us to look that information up. Oh, well. Let's move on here and talk about derrick bars a little bit. And Mark, you've been covering this story. Ongoing efforts, obviously, in the Trump administration to fill a number of positions. Specifically with USDOT, we're talking about FMCSA here. We've got Derek Bars, who has been nominated to lead the agency. We talked briefly about this with Louis Pugh on yesterday's show, Mark, but Bars does appear on a path toward confirmation here for the next leader of FMCSA. What's the latest?
Yeah, this week, Senate Commerce Committee, by a party line vote, voted 15-13 in favor to advance. So then we'll have to go to the full Senate. We are, right here with the August recess coming. So we'll, whether it'll get done before, it doesn't look like it.
Probably.
But that's where we're at right now. But OIDA, has been generally supportive of Derek Bars, going through. He's got a background in law enforcement, has worked with CVSA. He seems, receptive to a lot of the issues that OIDA has supported. And I think a big part of it with him, too, is we're not to speak ill of any of the past FMCSA.
Go ahead, Mark.
Okay. But
no one's listening.
But obviously, a lot of them have not had any background or any knowledge of trucking, and as we've seen,
wasn't one of them a taxi commissioner or something?
Yeah, so I mean, there's been a lot of them that just have had really no background at all in trucking, and you could see them learning on the job as we were covering, their tenure. He's already going to know a lot of these issues. And we have right now where the DOT has been very receptive. We talk about this pro trucker package all the time, and all of the things that they're doing positive for truck drivers. And we have somebody, coming in. Hopefully, we'll do something about broker transparency. They're working on improving due process on data queues. We've already seen, pulling the speed limiter rulemaking. So we've seen a lot of positives, and we have somebody who understands, what truckers have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And, that's where you're seeing, largely quite a bit of industry support, obviously including OIDA.
I think it's really cool that there's been so much of a shift finally in the conversation on the Beltway to safety as opposed to compliance. And when you have law enforcement come in and understand that this is truly about safety. This is not about the gotcha moments on the side of the road.
It's in the agency's name.
I mean, that's their core mission. And so if we can keep that conversation going and keep it at that level, CVSA's come on board with enforcement of the English proficiency, the alignment of CDL testing standards, they're going to petition for that. So there's been this kind of shift, not 100%. It's not like they came over to the good side, but it just seems like there's more conversation about, does this really make the road safer instead of how can the stickers on the ICC bumper, come on.
Right. And that's something we're going to talk about here as we talk about the deregulatory push that we're seeing as well, too. But it was interesting, too. I always find this interesting, and I don't think we know the answer to this because it wasn't apparent in any of the committee hearings that we saw with Derek Bars and lawmakers. But, it was a party line vote, I think 16-12, with Democrats voting against Bars'
I think it was 15-13, but I could have it wrong.
Either way, I mean, it was along party lines. I always wonder too what the opposition is to someone like him when you do have trucking groups like OIDA supporting him. I'm not quite sure what that is. I'm not sure if it's a politics thing or what. It may very well be.
Well, if it's party line, I would say, politics are
we've been dealing with one of the most divided Congresses for several sessions now.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's just, it's so rare to get bipartisan efforts through. And, I think that's the day and age that we're with. So with the Senate, he should get his confirmation at this point.
He will.
No, I mean, he'll get confirmed, but there'll be those numbers in opposition for purely just because
posturing.
Yeah,
Sure.
left and right.
Deep Impact. That was the name of the movie.
Oh!
And
That's right.
speaking of deep impacts, let's talk tariffs.
Okay. I'll allow it.
Turning to the
Nice transition. I'm proud.
Look about that, huh? Turning to the economic side of things, Tyson. We did get numbers for cross-border freight for the month of May.
Yep.
Speaking of tariffs, looks like they have been continuing or are continuing to have an effect on what we're seeing there.
Yeah, this was kind of be expected. Whereas mostly expected was in April. That was the first time. It was the biggest decline year to year in cross-border freight since the pandemic. Pretty much we all saw that coming because that's when the the global reciprocal tariffs were supposed to go into effect.
Right. So everybody was, planning ahead. Yeah.
Exactly. So in the months that preceded that, there was kind of like a very high volume, higher than normal. So that's when companies were front-loading imports to get ahead of the tariffs. April happens. The tariffs supposed to go into place, so it came to a stop. We now know that those tariffs never happened. They were put on the delay till July 9th, which again got pushed to August 1st. And
today,
yeah, that's right. And so we'll get into that here in a second. But go back to May. May was the second consecutive month in which cross-border freight had dropped. It's significant because cross-border freight since October 2020 has been on a major growth streak. In fact, it has only decreased in 4 months. A year-to-year decrease happened only 4 months since October 2020. So for it to happen 2 times consecutively, it's an anomaly. And it's kind of hard to say that the tariffs were not, directly responsible for that. And so the question from here is, what's going to happen moving forward? The numbers for June and July haven't come in yet. But a lot can happen. So the question is, after those tariffs were paused again, do companies go back and start front-loaded again?
Yeah.
There's some people who say that's a possibility. But now, again, those tariffs were that deadline is lifted today, and so that's kind of what everyone's kind of seeing what's going to happen now that we have some level of certainty, because that's the key word you hear all the time.
Exactly
uncertainty. Yeah, uncertainty is always the key word there. So it's not so much that there are tariffs necessarily; it's that they keep getting lifted and they come back and they get lifted again. If you just set a certain tariff for whoever and keep that in place, that will provide certainty to allow businesses to make decisions. That's kind of where they're having problems.
I think it's funny, Tyson, you talked about front loading, and all the shippers and receivers that were front loading and all of that. I actually have a friend. Well, we all do. She works here at OIDA, whose mother works in logistics in importing and exporting. And every time those deadlines are getting close to hitting, she's literally a phone on each ear trying to get these loads in and out fast enough to do that. Can you imagine being under that scramble mode?
Right.
I mean, for 20 hours a day, that's what she's been
And how do you keep track to make sure you're the right hand is talking to this person?
Man,
is it the export? Is it the export hand and the import hand? I mean,
are they married up?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
how does that actually? And I said, are you exaggerating? She goes, no, I can't get a conversation with her because she's literally on 2 different cell phones just going for it.
that sounds stressful.
I can't imagine. So, I mean, bringing that up and then the continued certainty and uncertainty, who knows what it's going to be? She's going to have to get a third cell phone. I don't know.
A third arm, third hand. I mean, you could do the headset, I suppose, with two hands.
Do a soft phone on your computer and have a third a Zoom call going.
I think we just came up with the next great product for the American technological industry. Let's talk real quick here, Mark. Driver shortage.
There is not one.
Okay. All right. Well, that wraps that up. Thank you. We talked with Louis about this yesterday.
Moving on.
Yeah, exactly. Louis had the floor yesterday. We gave it to him, obviously, in the context of his appearance before that Senate subcommittee last week. We talked about ATA's Chris Spear bringing up time and time again. I got to put the air quotes up. Driver shortage. He labeled it as a fact, again, quote unquote. There. Mark, you covered this hearing. You wrote a piece dedicated to the never-ending debate that isn't a debate, is kind of how you labeled it here. I'm going to kind of hand you the baton and let you run, let you cook here on your thoughts on all this.
it did not surprise me that ATA is sticking to their guns on this myth that there's a driver shortage. What did surprise me a little bit was the audacity of how aggressive ATA was about it at the hearing. And he referred to all of the claims that there isn't a driver shortage as factless, and was really intense with the way he was talking about it. And what we have over the past few years is we have a report from the Department of Labor, the Institute of Labor Economics, the National Academies of Science, and we are in a long-standing freight recession where everybody's main reason for that is overcapacity. Mm-hmm. Too many trucks on the road. Basically, the demand is not keeping up for the amount of trucks that are there. There's not enough to go around. Factless. So I have a big a question mark with that. But what it all comes down to, and the reason I wasn't surprised that they're maintaining it, is if you realize the things right now, we're in the process of a highway bill is going to be coming up in next year, and that work is going on right now. And if you look at what ATA's main things that they want in this highway bill, they're all tied to this narrative that there's a driver shortage. If there's not a driver shortage, there's no reason to be doing these things.
ATA gets neutered.
The driver shortage is their endangerment finding. Without it, is what it is. Because without it, everything falls apart. So there we go.
Hey,
pull that one thread.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a thing, though, that, and I asked Louis about this yesterday, because I have not been here as long as any of you, or as long as Louis obviously has been doing it for a long time. I have sensed the tide kind of turning on this topic in the past few years. You even had lawmakers. You had Senator Markey, calling out this myth of the driver shortage directly in the room, and I think he had Sean O'Brien, the Teamsters leader, respond to it. But again, you talk about Chris Spear kind of being intense about this, where everybody else in the room is basically saying, no, it doesn't exist. It's pretty amazing, really, in a lot of ways.
Sadly, he does still have some lawmakers that are on his side that are still, saying those sort of things. So, they're
PAC money.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear that?
What was my that? Translator over here.
Where'd that come from? It's like the subliminal message. Pack money.
But yeah, you have this issue, sadly, where there are still there's that are still going along with some of these things. And we talk about these issues, truck size and weight, increasing it. There's safety concerns. There are real issues about that. But the reason that you would push forward that if you're ATA, the real reason is obviously to lower expenses and pay less. But
follow the money.
Yeah, but they'll say
follow the money.
But the reason that you will give is to say driver shortage. Why do we need driverless trucks, autonomous vehicles? Isn't that going to put people out of jobs? Well, we don't have enough drivers to go around anyway.
Lowering the age. So bigger, heavier trucks.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm turning into Marx Luther anger translator over here.
Hey,
follow the money.
Follow pack money.
Pack money.
But to your point before, though, I do think with all of these reports that I mentioned before, it has gotten better. When I first started covering some of these hearings, it was amazing to me because has always said
every lawmaker would come out and talk about the driver shortage.
And mainstream media bought into it, hook, line, and sinker.
It was everything you would read. But slowly but surely, OIDA's message, and because of these reports, and that if you're on the side of facts, hopefully that will eventually come to light, and it has. Yet there are some powers, in place right now that are trying to push back against that. And, sometimes the method of refuting a fact is just to be very angry and on the other side of it and just never admit. And that's the approach that ATA is choosing to take right now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you look at it, this hearing happened right after the pro trucker package came out.
Yeah.
And ATA has been, Tyson found the best press release or blog from ATA. I mean, and it was visceral. They were so angry over speed limiters and taking pot shots at OIDA, and that we were using baseless facts and all of this other stuff. They knew going into this hearing that speed limiters were gone, and that's been one of their core tenets for a long, long time. So in order to protect anything else that they're trying to pursue, they had to throw a few random bar punches and try and keep that driver shortage myth alive. I mean, part of that's just politics.
Yeah. Well, and so much of it, another one is now they're trying to act like they were right along with OIDA on the English proficiency. They're acting like But, they were very silent about that issue before.
Johnny come lately.
Yeah.
Pack money, follow the money. Johnny come lately. We're gonna record a bunch of your phrases, Jami, and just throw them in randomly at different shows. I think we do that. I was also wonder too, as we look to the future here. At some point, there's going to be an end of the road here for this narrative. I feel like we can see it. I don't know, but I really wonder how ATA is going to kind of reconcile that and deal with that. Are they going to say, "Hey, we've solved the problem and it's." We can move on now.
I don't think that this is ever going away from their standpoint. If you have a freight recession, then the reason is overcapacity, and you still are going to say there's a driver shortage when that's what the issue is going on right now. I don't know how. What would ever deter them?
They dug a hole so deep they can't get out of it. They just have to accept it. They accept their fate.
They're they're just digging deeper. I don't know for a business model what that means when you've built a whole organization on a lie.
Yeah, follow the money. Speaking of money, we're going to head into a break here. But when we come back, we're going to talk fuel prices. We're going to talk truck parking. We're going to talk Google Street View getting a little more view than it wanted and more, including a look at Landline Magazine's newest issue, hot off the presses, with lady and gentlemen of Landline Magazine. So stick around. We're back with more Trucking with OIDA right after this. Welcome back to Trucking with OID. A couple quick headlines here before we jump back in with the Landline Magazine crew, starting with diesel prices. They were down slightly last week, according to the Energy Information Administration, and by slightly, we mean less than a cent, bringing the national average to $3.80. No big jumps up or down regionally. The biggest increase is about a penny in two separate regions. The biggest decrease, 3 cents in the central Atlantic. And some good news in Ohio, where the state just announced a plan to add at least 1,400 truck parking spaces across 19 counties. We're talking 33 new truck parking areas made possible with funds from the current transportation budget there in Ohio. Construction set to begin sometime next year. Tyson, truck parking is your wheelhouse, your forte, your meat and potatoes. It's where your bread is buttered.
Obsession.
Obsession is probably better.
Good news out of Ohio there.
I mean, they're getting it done. I don't know what more can be said other than, good for them. Yeah,
definitely good for them, and good for obviously truckers making their way through the state here, as they're really making this a priority in the state there. So good news there. Let's talk magazine now. The August-September issue of Landline Magazine is out. You were served really some grade A material when the USDOT, I guess some weeks back, announced those 9 pro-trucker initiatives. And Jami, I want to start with you because you put together an editorial for every edition. It goes in the front. We're going to get into the details of all the coverage here in just a moment. But you wrote about how you're generally tired of the word unprecedented. It's overused. But in this case, it really is apropos and appropriate.
It really is. And when I got really sick of saying it was during COVID. I mean, it's like every time we turned around, it's like, and there was no other way to put it.
Well, it was unprecedented. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there was no synonym that actually, really put that together. But I actually just had my 21st anniversary here at OIDA, and been covering trucking for 25 years. And I can say with complete confidence that the news that has been happening recently is unprecedented in favor of truck drivers. And, Mark always laughs at me because I don't know. I wheel in the day that we're going to press, and that's a blank page. Every time it's a blank page. No idea, no nothing. And I've done everything from watch American Kennel Club agility drills to, I don't know.
For inspiration? Or?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. I actually wrote one
Oh,
about
it's worked.
Rudy the Bulldog was a theme one time.
Okay. I mean, I like it.
Yeah.
You're going to different wells for
There you go.
inspiration.
He played for Notre Dame for a little while.
Right.
I might have to
I thought they made a movie out of him, right?
Wrong, Rudy.
Oh, okay.
Same underdog mentality,
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so this one, it was just, looking back at how the news has really unfolded in a pro-trucker format over the past couple of months. We have to give credit where credit's due. And OOIDA has definitely led the charge on all of these initiatives, but it wasn't without the help and the pressure put on by the membership to lawmakers, regulators, filing comments, all those things that we have in the toolbox to put pressure on. And so the whole theme of this one was no pressure, no diamonds, because good things happen if you keep the pressure on. Clearly we don't want it to go on millions of years, but, to get a diamond. But in congressional terms, this happened. It's
like
happening.
light speed.
Yeah, it really is. And so I think that's the most important thing I can say is that we have the ball rolling because the pressure's been there. We have this pro-trucker thing, but we have a highway bill coming up, and there's going to be a dogfight.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about ATA before the break. I mean, I assure you, we're going to be going head to head on some of these issues, and this is where we've won many, many battles here recently. So this is where the time is to not let up. Do not go, oh, great, we won. Haha.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And this should be looked at as just kind of the beginning, too. And a lot of these issues that we're talking about here, I was in the trailer with Secretary Duffy and Todd Spencer, the president here, obviously. And Todd was bringing up these exact points to him in the trailer at that event in Texas, not a couple months before we saw all of this happen. So to your point about pressure, this is an ongoing thing from groups like OOIDA continuing to push these issues. Mark, you've covered this overall initiative for the magazine. You've got a piece that people can check out to kind of go through each of them in individually. But the pressure is a big part of this. And these are all things of varying importance to different people, but they're all going to have an impact on people out there in various ways. When you look at that list, does anything jump out to you as maybe being a bigger impact than another?
Well, I mean, speed limiters is the one that I feels like the last several years that anytime I would talk to a truck driver on the phone or see one in person at a truck show that they would ask about. And when we saw that there were more than 15,000 comments, and anybody who's covered this sort of thing, a regulatory, knows how significant that is, because that just doesn't happen. Every once in a while we'll get 2,000-3,000 comments. We'll get sort of that, but 15,000 just doesn't really happen. And, that, and the majority of them were from truck drivers who were saying, it's back to that whole thing of compliance versus safety, like Jami was talking about earlier. And so many of these things, I think, do have good intentions. I think if you don't really understand, if you don't talk to a truck driver of what the reality is out on the highway, you could think, hey, slow those trucks down. They're bigger. Slow them down. That'll be safer.
They played into the narrative. I mean, that's what ATA's been doing. They've been putting the narrative out there, these big, bad, scary trucks.
Yeah. What the reality is, follow the money, that that it's about, they're doing it. So many of the large carriers are doing it for a fuel efficiency reasons and to cut money on cost. And so they don't like that their competitors aren't necessarily doing that too, so they want to slow them down. And if you remember what ATA was trying to get out of this speed limiter rulemaking, they were actually trying to be able to go faster than the independents by saying, if you have this technology, AEBs and all of this other gadgets that most of your, owner operators aren't going to spend the extra bucks on, that, they'd be able to go 70, but you better slow those other trucks down to 65 or 62 or whatever it was that they were suggesting. And we had truck safety groups wanting, 60 miles an hour out on the highway when we have speed limits that are 75, 80, 85 miles an hour.
And distracted driving on the rise.
And I mean, it doesn't take a lot of imagination to see how many, vehicles would have just run into the backs of trucks going 20, 25 miles an hour slower than the flow of traffic. So that's definitely a huge one. But, back to Jami's point of the unprecedented and all of this. I mean, there's 9 initiatives, and I want to keep on doing the Ferris Bueller line every time, 9 times. But it's such a big deal that they did this because so many times, they had a trucking action plan in the previous administration, and there were some positive things that you would like. But usually when these sort of things roll out, it's like, oh, okay, we like these two. These two we don't like so much. This one's terrible, But we had 9, and every single one of them really were pro-trucker policies and have been voiced by, like you said, Todd Spencer talking to Duffy. And also, it wasn't just that conversation. These have been messages that the association have been preaching, shouting off the mountaintops for decades.
I think this is one that was so wild for us that Tyson, Mark, and I, we kind of sat there and we were looking at the list and we're going, oh my gosh, how are we going to break this down? And, I wound up clerking for Mark, and finding stuff, because I really like the online version in addition to the magazine version of the story because we have the receipts, baby. ATA can say what they want, but OOIDA has the receipts. And by God, we went and found every video evidence of it. And so each of these issues, minus one, I think, has video evidence that OOIDA has been testifying before Congress, has been doing something. So it's like, ATA, just shut your mouth and sit down for a minute because we have the receipts.
Yeah, and I think 6 or 7 of them were just in, like, this year, Louis has testified in front of the House or Senate about. So, these are...
This was a wild, wild story to cover.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of these things, too, where... kind of as you point out, Mark, when Colin Long the day before caught wind that something was happening, and was more excited than I've seen anybody in a long time.
Kid in the candy store.
More excited than Jami when the Chiefs won went back to back. Maybe not. Okay, but the point is, to your point, this is something that every one of those 9 initiatives was something that people were excited about, in the association and in the industry. One of the things too, with truck parking, we talked about Ohio and them doing their own thing, but that's another part of this package. It was $275 million, I think, that's going to be going out in grant funding. And we've talked a lot about grant funding and truck parking and whatnot, but this kind of signifies that there is a new commitment, to this problem. Yeah. Would you say that's safe to say?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And again, it comes back to, OOIDA and its members and truck drivers have been, complaining about truck parking for years. It's how we got, the Jason's Law, but it's how we got the Truck Parking Safety Improvement Act, which, Representative Bost and OOIDA worked together to do this.
We still need that
and we still need that, let's not lose focus on that. But, the reason,
that could go in the highway bill.
There you go, see? But one of the reasons why this was on the top of the list of this pro trucker package is because OOIDA and truck drivers and the members have been doing this over years and years and years, and that's how it got to be top of mind for Duffy right now. Without that, years of advocacy, I'm not confident to say that this gets on the list or at least this high on the list. And it was. And so when we call our our representatives and senators and tell them to support this bill, and they don't.
Yeah.
The point is just don't give up, because just keep banging that drum, because eventually, it will.
We have an administrative-led initiative now.
Yeah.
Absolutely, we do, and it's insane. And I understand that people get impatient. I am a very impatient person, and but when we call our representatives, we want to see immediate action, and this is not going to happen. But if you just stick with it, this is what happens. It usually doesn't happen in one fell swoop like this. This is nice to see.
Yeah.
We got a lot of things on our Christmas list on the same Christmas day. That's excellent. But again, it comes down to that years of advocacy. It doesn't happen without that. It absolutely does not.
And the thing to watch now is this deregulatory push that we're seeing from the administration. We had the comment period, I think, that ended this week about a number of things, the labeling requirements.
Yeah.
It's these little things that
having
are
the ELD
nuisances.
operator's manual in the truck, with you, just stuff that
Silly stuff.
have no direct connection to highway safety. And if you can get those things and not stop having enforcement focusing on these things that don't really matter, the paperwork, just all of the bureaucracy that's involved in this stuff. If you can eliminate that and focus on the real issues, I think we'll all be better off.
And Jami, you sent me a social media post the other day about a guy going to battle with his HOA over some petty parking violation, and the fight. Relatable, I think, to truck drivers out there as we're talking about deregulatory actions. You talk a little bit about that.
Well, it was this. HOAs are notorious for their weird regs and then the wild enforcement that happens. But we actually covered a story out of one in Florida, and it wasn't that the HOA banned truck parking. The neighbors didn't like the lime green color of the truck, and they managed to get this truck driver's truck removed from parking in the HOA. So this guy's so salty. He's Tyson's kind of people. He is so salty. He bought automotive paint in the same color of his truck and painted his house in it because they had no house color restrictions. And I thought that was the most genius thing on the planet. So, it's kind of the mess around and find out kind of thing, to put it politely.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, you can't mess around with some of these, petty little rules and regulations that are in there right now. But maybe there's some hope now that some of these things are going to kind of go away, with some scrutiny and
you
some
look
common
how
sense, maybe.
Big that green book of regulations is.
Yep.
There's a lot that can go away.
Yeah, for sure.
And these are 18 that look to be headed in that direction, but we also see some things with some bigger stuff. Like, again, speed limiters wasn't on the books, but the fact that that rulemaking has ended, that's not going to happen. But we also, from these 9 initiatives, a chance for more hours of service flexibility, which has been a huge thing that drivers have asked for. Going back to that safety over compliance, because sometimes when you make those rules too rigid, that actually hinders safety, and that's drivers. Know when they're tired. Give them the ability to pause that clock and.
And the flexibility for the sleeper berth requirement, that shut out a lot of couples who were team driving when they restricted that. So that took a lot of trucks off the road that were highly efficient in their routes.
Yeah.
So being able to get that back and give those small mom and pops that ability to run like that.
Yeah.
And then, the broker transparency. That's another big one for us, because where do small business truckers get their loads from? The majority get them from load boards, and brokers.
That'll be the next thing, is broker transparency, cracking down on the broker, fraud issue out there. That'll be the next thing I think we can hopefully expect pretty soon here, in something that OOID has been pushing for as well. We got to take a quick break. Stick around for us, though. We're going to take a look at a few stories when we come back that'll have us scratching our heads, probably have you scratching your heads as well, and they all involve ways in which technology can go awry. So hang tight. We're back in a jiff.
Thanks to all the hardworking drivers across the U.S. from the Allen Lund Company. Penske is the trusted source for quality used trucks. Whether you search our website, call our sales staff, or bid at our online auction, you are sure to find the right used truck for your business. Visit PenskeUsedTrucks.com to view our inventory and learn more.
High heat and low lubricity can break your diesel fuel down fast. Summer driving means crowded roads, more stress, dust, and a bigger risk of costly engine damage. Howe's Diesel Defender protects from the inside out, cleaning, lubricating, and fighting injector wear. Visit HowsProducts.com.
Are you tired of the IRS following you around like a dark cloud? Call 888-557-4020 and get your life back.
At Truck Stop, we built a better load board for carriers like you. Sign up today and access over 600,000 loads on the most trusted online load board. Learn why the best in the business rely on Truck Stop to make more money and start driving your profit today.
Welcome back. Each issue, you've got something called Slight Detour in the magazine. Kind of a chance to look at some stories out there that, I don't know. How would you describe it? A little odd, a little out there, a little
off the beaten path.
Off the beaten path.
Yeah, stories from the road that are off the beaten path. You know, that's a really good catch line.
You've got an excavator, and a
Yeah.
guy driving an excavator that got in a foot chase.
Yeah,
in this
Ryan
one.
Witkowski does it. And
Yeah.
I think it's really funny because I know when we all find something that's just bizarre, we send it to him.
Yeah.
You know, and so
Yeah.
we're always looking for these weird stories. So
Yeah, well, check that one out in the August-September issue if you get a chance. One that you can go online, I suppose, if you want to check out. There was a story. I'm just going to read this. I'll let you guys react to it. This is from CBS News. There's a man in Argentina recently awarded more than $12,000 after a Google Street View camera caught him on camera in the buff, posted his picture all over the internet. Again, the story is he was naked at the time. The picture apparently shows his backside. Mark Schremmer is very interested in this.
Well,
in the details here.
I am because I didn't know that they had street cameras. I'm going to have to pay
and
attention now.
He was behind apparently like a 6.5-foot wall too.
yeah, I'm like,
and
how tall is this Google Street View car going around?
apparently this is just backside that got on the internet. I mean, with Google Street View, you can go on there and you can, I guess, if you want to go check it out. But it's got his house number. It's got his street on there. He, basically sued. A court awarded him $12,000. He's a police officer. He said he was being teased about it, I suppose, relentlessly. I don't know.
Come to that total.
But how did people?
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, these people that spend time on like Google Street View and Google Earth looking for stuff just like this is so bizarre to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I've seen people go through like the Everglades and look for alligators and stuff like that. Like people, this is the thing
too
that
much
people
time on their hand.
Exactly what that is. Yeah.
Well, and you pointed out, we were talking about this earlier, the Streisand
The
effect.
Streisand effect is what. So if you don't know what the Streisand effect is, real quick, many years ago, someone took pictures of Barbara Streisand's hideaway mansion, and she got mad about that, so she sued the photographer. But the thing is, no one knew about this photo before she sued them, and so she created a situation to where no one knew about it. Now everyone knew about it. That's exactly what this reminded me of. Because what did I do when I read that story? I Googled it and looked for the photo. I mean, who's not going to do that?
Did you find? Is it still up? They probably took it down by now, right? I did not check.
It's not.
The news stories have his butt blurred.
Oh yeah,
they got a blurry butt.
Nothing on the internet is ever lost. It's there forever. So
not that I Googled it up.
Yeah, but I didn't know anything about this.
I think you just
didn't know anything about this. Now with this news article and that lawsuit, now everyone knows about it, and for $12,500.
So
Yeah,
I'm
that
still
does
trying to
seem-
figure out. Did they just go? This seems like it's worth a used Ford Taurus.
It's
That's around what you should get.
you get $3,000 for every limb that we put online.
I wonder if that's how much it costs to raise that fence a little bit higher. Because
or put a dome over it,
put a dome, right?
I don't know.
Or just
What a
don't
world.
be
Put
naked.
swim trunks on.
Yeah,
What?
put some clothes on. Sir.
What a world to live in. Let's talk Amazon packages real quick here. I'll lay the groundwork here. ABC 7 in the Bay Area reported on that. Apparently, there's a woman in the Bay Area who has been getting hundreds of Amazon packages.
Yeah.
The company that's behind it apparently is sending out car seat covers that don't fit. People are returning them. The return label, however, has her address instead of this overseas business. So anytime someone returns it, it's going to her house. She said it was like living in hell. and the video shows packages all over the place.
Dude, I would set them on fire in my backyard.
Well, and it seems like a scam too, because the company to return it is charging like a 50% fee.
Yeah, it was like it cost like $130 for the seat, but then like $140 to return
send it back.
To send it back.
Or,
right.
yeah, something
Wait,
like that.
this was in California?
Yes.
Yeah, my yard fire wouldn't work. CARB would probably crack down on me.
Well, you'd probably start a wildfire too in
not
California. So please don't do that.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, this is one of these things too that I feel like we've just accepted now in society. You know, this Amazon package, like this kind of situation.
Yeah, so I have a situation where my address, is a street, and then there's the same address, terrace, a few blocks away.
What's that address, Mark?
I'm not going to say.
Look it up on Google Street View.
But I have a 7-foot tall fence, so I'm safe.
Okay, good.
But no, so we now like exchange Christmas cards with these people because we are constantly like every couple of weeks having to do like an meetup exchange of all of these.
Do you
packages.
wrap up their Amazon package that you got from them and just give it to them as a present? That's what you should do.
I got this for you.
Yeah.
But no, we're constantly having to exchange. With DoorDash and all of that stuff type now, I've had to like flag down people that have just left food orders on our doorstep and ring the doorbell and like, hey, this is not our meal. And so it's a constant thing that is going on. So everybody is dealing, I think, with that. The post office is not doing the greatest job these days. I think that's fair to say.
Well, and also who made these street names, like the names? When you're putting the layout together as a city planner, who's thinking like, hey, I'm going to name this one street, and then this is going to be terrace, and the next one's going to be road. You're just setting yourself up for confusion.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
can I pick a bone with somebody? Who do I reach out to?
Well, does anything grind your gears?
We don't have enough time. Yeah.
No, it's just it's urban sprawl. They don't.
Yeah,
they
true.
run out of, instead of just calling it George
names.
Street.
Yeah, it's like George Terrace, and then George Road. And then, anyway.
It's usually Jones, but anyway, I digress.
Yeah. And everybody's just plugging in the addresses
I know,
and the stuff too. And it's real easy to just hit the wrong one real fast. So
real quick, robotaxis, Atlanta, apparently separate rules for humans and robotaxis there. WSB TV reporting that police have been told now not to issue citations to Waymo vehicles that get stuck in the middle of an intersection or create traffic problems. This seems like a problem to me.
Well,
are you in
would
favor?
you want to be in one of them?
No.
I mean, I would want the cops to roll up quick.
Have any of you ever taken a robotaxi?
No,
I have not.
No.
Would you?
No.
no.
I'm
No.
not there yet. No.
I would on a test track. Okay, I would on a test track.
Okay, I'm going to San Francisco in a few weeks. And
Pixar, it didn't happen.
And I'm thinking maybe I might take a robotaxi.
Don't do it on the way to the airport. I don't know if you saw that video that went viral earlier this year, but a guy got stuck in one of these robo-taxis that just took him around the circle driveway like 9 times, and it wouldn't stop. And he had to
Stop, drop, and roll.
And tell the car to stop. Yeah.
Chuck and roll,
he had to
baby.
call.
He had to make a call, say, hey, tell your car to stop. It is going in circles.
And then it
I
stopped
didn't-
in the intersection.
It eventually did. But he was almost late to his flight because his robo-taxi was going in circles.
What do you do? It's like you're being held captive.
A little bit. So that was pretty recently and didn't instill a lot of confidence in me, but, that's just me. I don't know.
Well, if I survive the robo-taxi
Like I
experience,
said,
if I do it,
Yeah.
I'll take pictures. Well, it may be my last proof of life if
There you
things
go.
go
Live
awry.
stream it.
Trucking with OIDA. That's our show for today. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Mark, Tyson, and Jami for the time. We'll see you next time. Today's episode of Trucking with OIDA was brought to you by a dedicated team of people that includes Jim Fetzer, Keegan White, Tennille Flick, and Kim Boren.
Got thoughts? We'd love to hear them. Call us at 1-800-324-6856 and leave us a message. Or you can send us an email to podcast@ooida.com and we might include it on the show.